You can already see something good's happening, right? Ooh, my goodness. All right, a great one today. Italian sauteed vegetables. Sauteed Italian style vegetables. One of my go-to favorites ever. Today we're going to be using some mushrooms, some asparagus, I've got some broccoli, some red pepper, I've got some garlic cloves, some cherry tomato, and this will be for our sauce. We'll go over that a little bit. We'll get there, and some black olive, of course. There's a lot going on here, so just stay with me because this recipe is so phenomenal. And I love the fact that when you saute these vegetables the way I'm going to show you, it's going to transform into taste something you've never could imagine tasting so delicious. But I also want you to stay to the very end because there is something we're going to do at the very end, and I'll explain it to you, that's really going to kind of add another depth of flavor. And I promise you today, we are going to be talking about depths of flavor. Well, the first thing we're going to start off with is we're going to get our vegetables chopped up. With broccoli, upside down like this is one of the greatest ways to get your florets off. And they kind of just plop off like that. Pretty simple. So, and then if you wanted to, I don't throw away the stems because to me, that's great for soup or stock or whatever you want. So we'll just put this aside for now. Let's get our broccoli in our bowl here. Scraps can go later. Now we'll take our red pepper. These are the seeds. And I like to remove the membrane as well. So, there we go. And then we will just kind of cut these down into strips like that. I also love, basically I love Italian cooking in general because you don't have to be so precise. Now I was, formally trained 2 different culinary schools. One actually happened to be when I was studying under 2 master chefs, 2 Michelin star chefs in Italy actually. And they actually taught me this amazing, delicious concoction that we're teaching you today. So stay tuned. I'm telling you, you're getting this straight from a Michelin star chef. So the asparagus, we're going to do not half, maybe about, right about there. So, right at 1/3, okay? And put those in here. Save that for later. Now we get our mushrooms. Mushrooms, I'm going to keep just in halves, okay? Because we want to have them to have some body. If they're really big, we'll cut them again. Really simple. And like I said, one of the things I enjoyed about living over in Italy and studying under these great chefs, what they taught me, being an American, was that food should be not just enjoyed when you're eating, but it should be enjoyed when you're cooking. And if you're spending so much time trying to be perfect, you don't really get that joy, right? It becomes more of a chore. And I know a lot of you probably can relate to that. No one wants all that. We want to have some fun, right? So we have our mushrooms there. And then we'll take some cherry tomato. Let's put them all in there. And our black olives, all in there. And now, what we'll do is we'll take some basic Italian vinaigrette. We made our vinaigrette over in Italy. Obviously, it was just olive oil, balsamic vinegar, a little bit of sweetener. It could be honey, it could be brown sugar, it could be whatever you want. Basically, the basic ingredients for homemade dressing, if you ever wanted to make it, I'll do a video on it too, is I call it a 3-2-1 method, which is basically stands for 3-2-1. So it's 3 parts extra virgin olive oil, to 1 part of vinegar. 3, 2, 1. So there you go. Little pro tip, power trick. But today we're simple cooking here. I'm going to use some wishbone Italian, and we're just going to get these. I'm going to use about a cup and a half. All right. Get that. So, and we're just going to get these all dressed up and ready to roll. One of the things you're not doing at this point right here is adding any salt and pepper. And I'll explain to you why in a minute. But right now we just want to get these lightly coated with this vinaigrette. So they all have some shiny body to them, as you can see. Already looking pretty amazing. All right, when we come back, we're going to start the heat process. We're going to start cooking these up. I'm going to show you every single step which makes these Italian sauteed vegetables so unbelievable. Be right back. All right, let's get it moving. Let's get our burner going first. Got a nice saute pan here, high rims, which I like. If you don't have a high rim one, it's fine. Any pan will work, even a cast iron skillet. Don't get freaked out. Again, in the what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of the tradition of Italians. Don't try to be perfect, just have fun, okay? So I've got my 4 cloves of garlic. I'm going to just slice down into circles here. Okay. So. And as many of you have heard me talk in my previous videos about depths of flavor, you're going to get really into it today. I'm going to really talk about really unbelievable depths of flavor. First of all, we're going to start with some extra virgin olive oil, as we always do. And I'm also going to be using about a half a stick of unsalted butter. Okay. And we're going to put in our garlic right away. Okay. And I'm going to turn the heat down way low because we don't want that garlic to burn. We just want it to get that aroma. Burnt garlic is no good. And we just want it to get nice and translucent. Beautiful. All right. Now here comes the fun part. The next step. Tomato paste. You know I love the tubes. The tube. Save yourself some time and a lot of money because you won't be wasting a whole can. And we're going to do 2 tablespoons. And then my go-to, if anybody's watching my other videos, you know, my secret to umami, which is the 6th taste, which is in your taste receptors. Okay, we have 5. All right, we have sweet, sour, salty, bitter, sweet, sour, salty, and then the 5th taste, not 6th, the 5th taste is umami, which is kind of sends a signal up to the brain and says, I want more, I want more, I want more. And you can get that in certain foods. And one of the foods you can get that in is anchovies. And we're using anchovy paste today, which is actually really intense. I'm going to use about a teaspoon, like so. And you can find this in your grocery stores, and it's excellent. You will not taste the anchovies, but you will certainly wonder, what is that amazing flavor? Now, why am I adding the tomato paste and the anchovy paste in with this? Why am I cooking it, right? Well, this is when we're talking about depths of flavor. What's happening here is we're creating what is a rustic kind of flavor by taking that tomato paste, and what's happening is it's changing its flavor profile, and it's mixing in with the garlic. And then you've got the anchovy paste is melding in, so it's creating a whole flavor profile right now, which is what cooking is all about. All right. Now, time for our vegetables. And at this point, we will add a little bit of salt, but not too much. And I will explain why in a little while, but not too much. And some black pepper. We're going to add some oregano. All of these are just teaspoons. And some chili flakes. You can not use this if you want, but I like chili flakes. But that's up to you if you want to put a little bite in there. Okay? And let's get this. All right. Now, last little step here is we're going to add a little bit of honey. Make sure you get some good honey. There's good honey and there's really bad honey. This is good honey. Probably about a tablespoon. And we'll soften that sweetness with some balsamic glaze. About a tablespoon. Voila. Wow. Unbelievable. All right. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to turn this heat down to very, very low. We're going to put a top on, and we're going to let these kind of do their thing for about 5 to 7 minutes. And then we'll taste and see where we are on the flavor profile. We'll find out if we need to add any more seasonings. We'll go from there. If we're good, we'll plate it up. We'll take a bite. And then that last little thing I told you to hold on for, I'm going to show you why we're going to do this and the history behind it all that kind of brings this whole dish together. Italian vegetable sauté. Be right back. All right. 5 to 7 minutes later, let's check out what we've got here. Oh, goodness. So, if you could smell this. Oh, my Lord. And you see all this yummy, amazing juice? It's exactly what we want. And we do not want to waste this, because I'm going to show you something that is just unreal. Keep this going for another second. While this is going, I'm going to take just a little, let me get a mushroom. Well, I'll tell you what, get another shot on here. See, you can see it reducing down. We want to continue to reduce down just a little bit more, so let's watch that. Let's just take a taste. I always go to the middle where it's reducing down the most. We get a little taste of this broth. This is the key to this whole dish. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Give me a bowl of that. I mean, it is unreal. It is unbelievable. It reminds me back in Tuscany where I learned this amazing recipe. And again, it's all about the depths of flavor. These are things, people, let me talk to you a minute. I mean, you can see what's happening here. These are the things that will create you to become a better cook. When you learn the foundations and the techniques, the layers of flavor. You cannot learn this from a cookbook. Cookbooks are guides, they're recipes, they're how-tos, there's some directions, but if you don't understand the foundation and kind of the language and what's going on, you're going to continue to fail, unfortunately, and then you're going to quit. And then you're back to ordering out and carry out and all that other good stuff, or bad stuff, or whatever you want to call it, drive-throughs. It is so important and so easy and so simple if you learn the foundations, and you can't get it from a cookbook, but you can get it from my ebook, which is not a cookbook, but it is a guide. It's a blueprint. It teaches you all the simple foundations of cooking, like layering the flavors, and sautéing, and roasting, and baking, and steaming, and grilling. It's all in there. Where to shop, where not to shop, what aisles to go down, when to throw something out, what's in your pantry, what's not in your pantry, what you should throw out, what you should keep in your pantry, what kind of spices should you have, what kind of spices should you not have, what size of the bottle of spices you buy. It's all in there. Grab your copy. If you want to elevate your cooking confidence, there's a link in the description box below. Check it out. All right. See, it's reducing down nicely here. So at this point, what we're going to let this go for about another minute. Okay? One of the things I want to show you, I'll let you know, is that in Italy, okay, what I learned, which was so different from my kind of traditional, so I had two schools I went to. One was in the States, which was basically French cuisine terms, which is very important, very important. The other one was when I went over and worked under the Michelin stars in Italy, where they kind of threw out a lot of the French stuff and said, no, let's make it a little easier. One of the things I learned about Italians is that they don't really care about the bright green vegetables and the perfect this and the perfect that. So as you can see here, this broccoli, it's not overcooked, but it's not bright green either. But the flavor is what Italians really are all into. I mean, they want the flavor, baby. And that's what we've got here. So just want to make that clear. So when we come back after about 2 more minutes, we're going to plate this up, and then we're going to do that last step that I promised to show you that really brings this thing all together. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. All right, we're back. You can see the last 3 minutes looking unbelievable. Still lots of beautiful juice on the bottom, which we love. Before we plate this up, we're going to take some fresh basil, front and center here. And I'm just going to take off some tops here, just like so. And we just want to tear this in. Again, layers of flavor. If this was in with the vegetables, what would have happened? They would have become nothing. All of the perfume would have been out of it. You wouldn't have tasted anything at all. And you wouldn't have had an amazing burst in your mouth because your palate wouldn't have been able to discern that there was any basil in there at all. By adding it the last minute like this, you're getting all the freshness and the perfume of the basil, and this is what cooking's all about. So we get that all mixed in like so, and now that is permeating into the rest of these vegetables. So now, let's take it to the plate. I'll show you what we got here. Boy, does this look amazing. One of the things I've learned as I've been cooking for people is how many people grew up on hating vegetables. And I am convinced that it's because they never were cooked properly as a child when they were eating them. And that's your first impression, right? As a child, you're like, oh, that's nasty. And so you run away from it as an adult. But you will learn if they're cooked like this. Oh my goodness. Look at that. All right. Got that there. Now we're going to do this last step, which is we'll leave this sit here right here. Now, here's what we're going to do. The liquid. We're going to turn the burner back on. we're going to bring it to a boil. Okay? Let's bring this up to a boil. You'll see this happening in a couple minutes. I tell you what, we're going to let it come to a boil. When we come back, I'm going to show you how we're going to finish this. Really, really simple. It's just a beautiful technique. You're going to love it. It's going to finish this off. We'll take a bite. Cannot wait. Don't go anywhere. All right, come on in here. You can see how much it's reduced down now. Exactly what we want. Let's turn the heat off. Now I want to talk to you about this last little step. What I have here is one of my favorites. One of my favorite cheeses ever. Now, there is Parmigiano Reggiano, which is probably my favorite. But then there is Pecorino Romano, okay? This cheese is salty in flavor naturally, and it's soft, okay? Pecorino Romano. What does that mean? Well, Peco, I believe it's Peco. That is sheep for Italian. So this is a sheep's milk cheese. And Romania, it doesn't necessarily, well, the region that it started making this cheese, which is one of the first cheeses that Italians started to make, was way, way, way back. And it was predominantly used on just about everything. And it was made in Rome. Now, since then, most of the production houses all over Italy, it's actually produced more in Tuscany now, in Lazio, okay? But still some in Rome as well, and that's why you have Romano. So Pecorino Romano, so it's sheep's milk. It has a very salty, but soft and delicious, and also kind of a nutty and smoky flavor to it, which it makes all the sense in the world. So we're gonna take this with our grater, and we're gonna put this in our sauce, which is gonna add a little bit of a thickening agent. Okay, save that. And let's just swirl this around a little bit. See how thick that got? And then we just go on top like this. And then last but not least, we take a little bit of the pecorino, put it on top like this. Sheep's milk, straight from Italy, Tuscany. Oh my goodness. And then at the last minute, just a little bit of fresh basil on top like that. You can even tear some. So again, you're getting the raw, lightly cooked basil, the different flavor profiles, the layers of flavor is what it's all about. Check that out. And now for the moment of truth, of course. A little housekeeping here. And let's give this a taste. Does that look amazing or what? Where do I want to go? Some mushroom. And some broccoli here. A little bit of the sauce. Let's get it in. The burst of flavor. Unbelievable. You can hear the crunch. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Just because the color evaporated does not mean we did not retain the essential vitamins and nutrients. That's what it's all about. And my goodness gracious, you could eat this all by itself. If you wanted to put it on the side with chicken, with beef, with fish, with pork, lamb chops, what have you. It's perfect. But honestly, you could eat this just as it is. And in Italy, this may come out kind of as, a first course, okay? A starter course, which you would just plate it up around the table, and that would be your first course. And maybe a second course would be maybe some pasta with just some fresh basil and Parmesan. And then your third course would be your meat course, right? That's kind of how you eat when you're over in Italy. But this would be a perfect first course, or as a side. In America, we like to put sides with our dishes, so it's all there. I absolutely love this recipe. I know you will too. Please leave me comments. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you think. You know, after you taste it, I know you're just going to be blown away because all the flavors are there. Remember, it's all about technique. It's all about layers of flavor. It's all about building the foundations. This is what's going to raise your kitchen confidence. So glad you were able to watch this video all the way through. I can't wait to see you next time right here on Chef Brian's Kitchen. And as always, remember, eat well and stay healthy.